So the sutra for this week is Book 3, Sutra 36. Book 3 is the Vibhuti-pada, the portion on accomplishments. Sattva parushayoho antyanta sampurnayoho pradhyaya aviseshaha bhoga bharartat svarta samyamat parusha jnanam. Say that 5 times fast. The intellect of the parusha or atma are totally different. The intellect existing for the sake of the parusha, while the parusha exists for its own sake. Not distinguishing this is the cause of all experiences, and by samyama on the distinction, knowledge of the parusha is gained. All right. The intellect and the parusha are totally different. That's the first piece. So our intellect, our buddhi, and parusha, us, here, now, living in the prakriti, living in everything that we do and everything we surround ourselves with. So our maya, our illusion, is part of our parusha. So starting to honor this space of knowing that my soul's wisdom, my true intellect, is very different than who I am and what I am maybe in the world. So depending on how much we're starting to merge these two together, and this is sort of the point of this sutra, this us, the parusha, and with our maya, with our illusion, our judgments, etc., the way that we view and see the world, this is either going to be from a very clear space and from this soul's mind, from this soul's intellect, or filtering through all of our garbage, all of our stuff. So we have to understand first that the intellect and the parusha, us, are totally different. The intellect existing for the sake of the parusha. So our soul's mind exists for our sake. So that as we start to get closer to who we are, as we start to understand what that means, as we begin to recognize that we have a wiser mind, it is for the sake of us living in the world. We get to then take all of that good behavior. We get to then take all of this soul's knowledge and put it into how we live in the world. So the intellect existing for the sake of the parusha, while the parusha exists for its own sake. So this is where we can get into survival a little bit. It's me saying, this has to be this way, this, and this have to fall in line. That's how I'm going to live in the world, because that makes me, the parusha, here now, feel comfortable, settled. So that is part of our dualities and expectations and judgments and criticisms. All right, so the intellect and the parusha, totally different. The intellect existing for the sake of the parusha, while the parusha exists for its own sake. Not distinguishing this as the cause of all experiences. So when I know that I'm coming from my soul's mind, I'm aware and I'm awake. And I know when I'm in that yogic space and when I'm behaving yogically, but I also know when I'm not. So first we need to distinguish the difference between the two. But it's the ignorance, it's not distinguishing them, that continues to allow us to have karmic experiences, because we're still spinning, we're still learning, we're figuring it out. And by samyama on the distinction, remember that samyama is beyond samadhi. Samyama is when dharana, dhyana, and samadhi have merged. So it's when our single focus, our meditation, and our space of peace, enlightenment, transcendence have all spontaneously come together. And so it's like samadhi beyond samadhi. It's enlightenment beyond enlightenment. It's transcendence beyond having to continue to fight with the here and now. You know, maybe not very tangible for most of us at this point, but conceptualizing the idea is quite lovely. So, and by samyama on the distinction, knowledge of the parusha is gained. So as I start to feel these moments of absolute clarity and knowing, and my pieces have come together, I start to know me better. And I simply, right, piece at a time, simply start to know when I'm not behaving yogically. and I know when I am. And I feel the moments when everything comes together, and I know those moments when they haven't. So, the intellect and the Purusha are totally different. The intellect existing for the sake of the Purusha, while the Purusha exists for its own sake. Not distinguishing this as the cause of all experiences, and by samyama on the distinction, knowledge of the Purusha is gained. The smarter I get in my soul's mind, the smarter I get. The more I think I know, the more I think I know, from that judgmental, chittavritti, spinning Purushic mind, the more I think I know, the less I know. So live in your soul's mind as best you can, and start to play with the idea of distinguishing what is your intuitive soul space and what is your thinking judgmental mind. It's the best place to begin.